What's up guys, Brian Kelly here from Zombie Guitar. So this is going to be part 5 of the Music Theory for Metal series, and here in this video we're going to be talking about the harmonic minor scale. So I'm just going to start this video off by just giving you just the direct practical application of how easy this scale is to use, assuming that you already know your diatonic scale. If you recall from part 2, the scales that you're going to be using 95% of the time, the diatonic scale and then the pentatonic scale. So the diatonic scale is like the main one. So if you know that really well and you can solo up and down the entire neck of the guitar in any key, then you've got the diatonic scale down. The harmonic minor scale is just a simple one note alteration from that scale. That's all it is. So we've been playing in the key of E major / C sharp minor the entire time for this entire series so far. So we're just going to call this the key of C sharp minor because it's metal and we usually just kind of talk about things from the minor perspective. So just looking at one position of the C sharp natural minor scale, we'll start up here on the 9th fret of the low E string. You have this. The harmonic minor scale simply just raises the 7th note by a half step. That's all it is. Taking this out across all 6 strings, first the natural minor scale and then the harmonic minor scale, so you can hear what they sound like back to back. Alright, so the harmonic minor scale, you're literally just taking one note and raising it by a half step. That note happens to be the note that comes right before the minor scale root. So we're calling this the key of C sharp minor. So the scale root or the tonic note would be the note C sharp. So one half step below that note C sharp, that's your harmonic minor note. So you can go ahead and you can use this scale and play it over all of the chords. That's fine, that's perfectly fine. But let's now get into the theory behind this harmonic minor scale. So the harmonic minor scale is the result of making one of the minor chords of the key that you're playing in into a major chord. Alright, so if you're numbering the chords from the major perspective, so if we're calling this the key of E major, then it would be the 3 chord that we're changing from a minor chord to a major chord. Or if you're numbering the chords from the minor perspective, if you want to call the C sharp minor chord, if you want to say that that's the 1 chord and then renumber all the rest of the chords accordingly, that's cool too. That would make this G sharp minor chord the 5 chord, which is becoming a G sharp major chord. We now have a major 5 chord. The difference between a minor chord and a major chord is the 3rd. That's the only difference. So that note, that major 3rd note found in this changed chord, that's your harmonic minor note. Alright, so we're changing a G sharp minor chord into a G sharp major chord. So if you were to write out your C sharp natural minor scale, you would see that the very last note, the 7th note, is the note B. That note is changing from a B to a C. Now you have the C sharp harmonic minor scale. So we run into a weird technical issue here because we're already in this key that has a whole bunch of sharps in it. We're in the key of E major / C sharp minor. So this is the key that already has 4 sharps in it. So typically when you're writing out scales, the 7 notes that make up a scale or the 7 notes that make up a key, you want to avoid having 2 instances of the same letter name. So you don't want to have C and C sharp in the same 7-note scale written out on paper. So instead of writing C as the last note of this harmonic minor scale, we're actually going to call it B sharp. I know this is super weird. I know that like if you look at a piano or a guitar, the note that's higher than a B is the note C. We typically don't call it the note B sharp. But just because of the context that we're playing in, we're in this key that already has a whole bunch of sharps in it, and we want to write out this harmonic minor scale, and we want to avoid using a C and a C sharp. We want to have each of the 7 notes of the musical alphabet written out. That's why we have to write B sharp instead of C. All right. This is a super weird key to explain this in. So after I'm done talking about this in the key of C sharp minor, I'm just going to talk about it in the key of C major / A minor, and then you'll kind of maybe be a lot more familiar with that. And this also affects how you arpeggiate your chords. So if you recall from part 3 of this metal series, each of these power chords is representative of a major or minor chord. So when you're arpeggiating the C sharp power chord, that's representative of a minor chord, so you play a minor arpeggio. And then when you get to the B chord, that's representative of a major chord, so you play a major arpeggio. A power chord is representative of a major chord. And then when you get to the G sharp chord, if you were to keep the in key chord and arpeggiate it that way, you would play a G sharp minor arpeggio. Or you could do what we're doing here and then play a G sharp major arpeggio. And that gives birth to this harmonic minor scale thing. So let me just quickly run down that 4-chord sequence, each played as an arpeggio, so you can kind of hear what that 4th chord sounds like played as a minor versus played as a major. Check this out. That's keeping the G sharp minor chord, the one that's in key, that's playing that arpeggio. Now let's make that into a major arpeggio. It alters the sound. Alright, that's what it sounds like when you make that chord major. So that little change between minor and major, that one note alteration, the minor third of that chord made into a major third of that chord, that's your harmonic minor note. You may be more familiar with the key of C major, which has the relative minor of A minor. So in the key of C major, you have your 7 chords. The 3rd chord is an E minor chord. If you make that into an E major chord, that's exactly what we're doing in this lesson. We're just in a different key. Or if you number the chords from the minor perspective, if you want to call the A minor chord the 1 chord, numbering them accordingly, then the E chord is your 5 chord. E minor into E major. An E minor chord is E G B. An E major chord is E G sharp B. So the note G becomes the note G sharp. The A minor scale, no sharps, no flats. The A harmonic minor scale has that G sharp at the end. So that's the theory of this harmonic minor scale from the perspective of the key of C major / A minor. Things are just easier to visualize and easier to understand when you're learning music theory concepts, when you look at the key of C major or A minor, because there's no sharps or flats in it. So when you see this G sharp note come into play, you're like, oh, okay, super obvious. When we're in this key of C sharp minor or the key of E major, which is the key that this metal series has been taking place in, and you have all these sharp notes, and then you're like introducing another sharp, but then you have to call it like B sharp instead of C because it's all weird and stuff. It's not so obvious. So I don't know. That's the theory behind the harmonic minor scale from 2 different keys. Oh, and just one other fun fact that I almost forgot to mention. Fully diminished arpeggios, which was the topic from part 4, last week's video in this series, and the harmonic minor scale, they go hand in hand. Because a fully diminished arpeggio is embedded right within this harmonic minor scale. If you recall from that video, part 4, there's only 3 fully diminished arpeggios. Like there's 12 major arpeggios, there's 12 minor arpeggios. So fully diminished arpeggios are like way easier to use because there's literally only 3 of them. So one of those 3 is always going to be embedded within the harmonic minor scale that you're using. So we're using the C sharp harmonic minor scale. So here's the C sharp harmonic minor scale again. Alright, so right in with there, if you start on that harmonic minor note, so here's the C sharp note, go back a fret, here's that fully diminished arpeggio. Right in there. All of the notes of the fully diminished arpeggio are found right within that harmonic minor framework. So anytime you want to throw in a harmonic minor run or a harmonic minor lick or something like that, you could also use a fully diminished arpeggio right there. It's 4 of the 7 total notes of the harmonic minor scale that you'd be using. Something pretty cool, I thought. So that said, if you're a member of the Zombie Guitar website and you want to learn more about this harmonic minor stuff and more about these fully diminished arpeggios, tons and tons of content about this. There's a full soloing course on the harmonic minor scale. It's advanced soloing course number 5. It's called the Harmonic Minor Framework. That would be the first place to look. The second place to look would be in the in-depth lesson portal. There's a whole section, it's called the harmonic minor scale, all about the harmonic minor scale and all about these fully diminished arpeggios. A bunch of lessons about that kind of stuff is found in that section. And also this whole metal series is going to be placed into the metal theory section of the in-depth lesson portal. That's the newest section that has been added to the in-depth lesson portal. Super cool stuff. That's the Zombie Guitar website. If you're a member, cool. If you're not a member, check out the website. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.